All right, we're going to start our second reading of Killer Flood today. We're going to read 3 chapters today. I'm going to start out with Blackout, Dumb Move, and then Fluffy. Again, I want you to pay attention to why the author gave each chapter the title. What details tie back to the title? And then you'll answer that question in your Canvas page. Why did the author give it these titles? I hope you're enjoying Killer Flood. Here we go. Chapter 3 is Blackout. The water rose quickly. It was 3 feet high in 5 minutes. Dan and Pete got on the dining room table. They were safe there, at least for a little while. "Where's your cell phone?" Dan asked Pete. Pete frowned. "I left it on the floor, in your room. It must be underwater." "What about your phone?" "I think it is still on the table. Let me go see." Dan jumped off the table. The water came to his waist. Whoa, it was deep. And it was cold. And it was the color of dirt. At least the lights were still on. He waded slowly to the bedroom. Yes, there it was. His phone was still on the nightstand. He grabbed it and called 911. He heard a strange beeping sound. He tried again. Same thing. He tried his parents. Same thing. He called to Pete. "I have got the phone, but there is no service." Then he waded back to Pete. He held his cell phone high so it would not get wet. Pete helped him back onto the table. How much power do you have?" Pete asked. Dan shivered. He was wet and he was cold. He looked at his cell phone. "Some, not much power." He was able to connect to the internet, and he went to a news page. The alert was on the home screen. "Warning," he read to Pete. "Fish Lake Dam break. Green Valley is flooded. The town is cut off." Dan shook. This time it was not from being cold. Dan was scared. The dam had broke. It had failed and broke because of all the rain. Water was pouring into the town. Sure, it would flow out of the town, but not for a long time. He and Pete were trapped. With the town cut off, there would be no help for now. Pete had read the alert too. "Oh man, this is bad. Try and call your parents again." Dan did. There was no luck. No cell phone, no roads, no help. He and Pete were on their own. Pete looked a little sick. "How high will the water come? Because I can't swim, you know." "I don't know, and I don't want to wait to find out." Dan had a plan in his mind. "We need to get out of here. We need to get to a high place." "High? We live in a valley. There are no high places." Dan pointed to the front door. "Not inside, but outside, like on the roof, or the tree house, the one near the road, in the ash tree." Pete nodded. "Yeah, I remember the tree house. We haven't been in it for a long time." "Well, it's gonna save our lives. Let's go." They climbed down off the table and into the cold water. Now it came to Dan's chest. Pete was a little taller. They started to wade. Dan held his cell phone high. If it got wet, it would be ruined. At some point, maybe there would be service again. Then they could call for help. They were halfway to the door when the power failed. The lights went out. They were stuck in the rising water. They could not see their hands in front of their faces. It was not just dark. It was black. Chapter 4, Dumb Move. Dan had known dark and wet before, but not like this. Not with icy water up to his chest. Not when he did not know where he was. He was afraid to turn for fear of losing his bearings. He did not know where his eyes ended and the dark started. Oh my, oh my, I cannot see, Pete said. I cannot see anything. Shh, Dan ordered. He had to think. He could not think with Pete being upset. Pete did not listen. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? We get out of this, but we have to stay calm and think. Pete was his best bud. Dan did not like to yell at him, but Pete was not helping. In fact, he was hurting them. What to do? Dan had his cell phone. He held it high above the water. If he got it wet, it would be dead. He could not get it wet, but if he touched the right button, the screen lit up and it put out a nice blue light. Your phone, Pete exclaimed. I can see a little now. And if I find the right app, Dan brought his cell phone close to his face as he dared. He did not want it near the water. He changed screens. Somewhere he had an app. There it is. The flashlight. A beam of light cut in the darkness. It pointed it at Pete. His friend was white with fear. His eyes were big. His hands shook. Dan knew he had to be the leader. Okay, back to the table, he told Pete. Then we will figure this out. Dan trained the beam on the dining room table. They could not stay there for long, but they could rest for a moment. Pete sloshed over to it, and Dan followed. This was the right thing to... No! Dan fell forward. He had slipped on something. He had slid under his foot, and he started to fall. Down went his hands to break the fall. The cell in his hands plunged into the water. The moment it hit the water, the phone died, and the room went black again. No, no, no! I am such a klutz, he shouted. What a dumb move. What happened? Pete called. Turn your phone back on. I can't. It got wet. Keep talking. I will come to you. There was nothing more he could do. Pete called, and Dan followed the sound. He got to the table and got up on the table. He found he was still holding the cell phone. Angry at himself, he threw it in the water. What do we do now? Pete asked. His question was followed by far-off thunder. Dan waited until the thunder was over before he answered. Not that it was a good answer. Pete, I don't have a clue what we are going to do. Chapter 5 is Fluffy. Dan took a deep breath. There were so many things going wrong. They were soaked. The water was cold. They had not eaten a real meal in a long time. If they lost too much body heat, they could die. It was too dark to see. Dan did not even know where the door was. A flash of lightning lit the room, and it was followed by a roll of thunder. The lightning was what Dan needed. He got his bearings. The front door was a bit to the left. He and Pete could get to it. Then they could get outside. Then get to the tree house. Ooh, but what about the lightning? The worst place to be in a storm was in a tree, or near a tree. At least it was one tree among many. They would be above the water. Better to try lightning than to drown. More lightning, and Dan saw the door again. Okay, we are going to the treehouse, he told Pete. Let's just meow, meow. They both heard it. Meow. Fluffy the cat was crying. Dan wondered if she had been crying the whole time. Had they missed it? Or had she just started crying? Was she crying because she was wet? Where was Fluffy anyway? "Do you hear that?" Pete asked. "I'm not deaf," Dan said. "Ignore it," Pete told him. "She'll be fine. Let's go outside." Dan shook his head. He loved that cat, Fluffy. He was not going to let her die. "No, we need to check on Fluffy." "Are you crazy?" Pete asked. "She's just a cat. She'll be fine. Let's go." Dan did not like what Pete said. He loved the cat, and he had to be sure she was okay. The cries came from the kitchen. A flash of lightning lit the way to the kitchen door. Dan jumped off the table. "I'm getting her. Come if you want." He waited, and the water was still rising. The splashes behind him said that Pete was following. He went into the darkness. He banged on the wall with his face. It hurt a lot. Where was the door? Where was it? Lightning showed him it was to his right. He felt his way there. Foot by foot, he was inside, and Fluffy meowed again. "I'm coming, Fluffy," he called. More meows. He was in the kitchen, and a bolt of lightning showed him where the cat was. He was on top of the refrigerator, safely out of danger. It would take a flood like in the Bible to reach her. The cat was safe. Well, wasn't what that they said? Cat always land on their feet. Then the thought hit him like a fist. The moment he had thought about the land. The cat was safe. He would be okay on the refrigerator for now. But there were other people who might not be so safe. The people next door. The people so old that they could not help themselves. He needed to help the lambs. All right. I hope you enjoyed these 3 chapters of Killer Flood. Take a couple minutes in your Canvas page and tell me why those are good titles. Blackout, Dumb Move, and Fluffy.